Hello, it's Ted Ritzer with the Greening Government Webinar Speaker Series. And this speaker series is a collaboration between my department, Alberta Environment and Parks, the Alberta Climate Change Action Center, and also the Municipal Climate Change Action Center as well. And the introduction for today's presentation will be a little bit different because this week we're featuring some presentations that feature kind of an open source theme. So I'll just quickly give you a little bit of a background of why we're introducing these sessions this week. I actually live in Beaver County, Alberta, and the bandwidth there is, our internet bandwidth is wireless, and it's actually pretty low speed comparative to what Steve is using from Newfoundland this morning. But what I experienced there was any time my wife and I would be watching movies, invariably we would have kind of two major choices. And one of them is the largest corporation on the planet. The other choice is Netflix. And invariably, we would end up having to watch things on Netflix because it would just work. The other vendor would give you messages like, you can view your movie in 7 hours and 59 minutes. So based on that, I started to research, well, what's going on? Like, why is Netflix performing better? And the research, what it ended up yielding was basically a mixture of proprietary and open source technologies just plain worked better. And when I researched that within the context of the speaker series, what I found was the governments of the UK and the US are actually using open source technologies, even though there's been major shifts in sort of the ruling parties within those countries. They're still very committed to their open source projects because they're saving so much money that they can't afford not to pursue those projects. So that's where I started to look at the use of open source related to climate change. And I came across an individual, his name is Tim O'Reilly. He's the president of O'Reilly Press. And what Tim proposed was, well, what if we marry the best of technology in terms of open source with governments to respond to wicked problems like climate change. So that's what this week is about. And when I started researching that, it drew me to different firms that were looking at sort of an internet scale use of open source technologies. And I'm really happy to say that one of those vendors that I found is actually Calgary based. Dr. Steven Liang is with the University of Calgary. He's the CEO of a startup company called SensorUp. And what Steve is doing at the University of Calgary, I think what I was, like I told Steve this morning, the more I research SensorUp, the more I'm impressed with what they've done in terms of looking at a platform approach to geospatial information systems that can scale at internet scale. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Dr. Steven Liang. Thanks so much, Steve, for doing this presentation.
Thank you very much, Ted. And it's my honor to be able to share something I'm very passionate about, which is my research as well as my company. It's about how to connect the worldwide sensors to make the world a better place, and to using open standard to build it. So building an open way rather than a closed proprietary way. So today's topic is Open Internet of Things for smart cities. So firstly, I'll briefly touch on what's Internet of Things. I think this is something very, very relevant to everybody. And then I'll talk about what we do. and then talk about our some of the users of our sensor app technology for smart cities applications. So here we go. So something about me, the relevant part. First, I'm a teacher, researcher, and entrepreneur. I'm the founder and CEO of a sensor app. So here's the story. So I've been doing research and developing international open standards for sensor web and Internet of Things. So basically connect sensors. But I found it's not enough. A standard is just a piece of paper, but we still need the running code. So something is working to make the standard happen. So as a result, actually, I decided to start my own company with my wife's blessing, and then start my own company. So my research is about making the standard, working with the experts around the world, and then my company is about implement the standard. So hopefully we are the best implementation of this open standard, and we can show what's possible, what can be done with the open standard. So these are the two sides, right? So I'm a CEO and founder of Sensor App. I'm also a full-time associate professor at the geomatics engineering at the University of Calgary. And my research has been supported by some of the organizations you can see on the screen. They are very generous. And then, so when I talk about open standard, I mean a international standard development organizations, SDOs. So that includes, for example, ISO, International Standard Organization, OGC, Open Geospatial Consortium, and sometimes UN's ITUT, so just United Nations Standard Working Group for Telecommunications. So that's the standards I'm talking about. It's a truly real international open standard. And about Sensor App, our technology, we enable any organization to develop times faster. So we develop this ecosystem. So for example, our libraries and software development kit, SDKs, are open source. And then it's open standard based as well. So enable you, so you don't need to rewrite the code. It allows you to develop your application 10 times faster. And also, but in addition, actually, the real powerful thing we can do, our technology can do, is enable instant on-demand integration of different IoT systems with open standards. So when I say different IoT systems, think about different kinds of sensors, right? The drones, connected cars, videos, and machines, and air quality sensors, for example. And then each individually, there are different systems. By using our open, we are able to connect them all together, combine them all together for analysis and visualization instantly. But how can we do that? It's through the openness, yeah, the open standard. So in a way, internally, I told my sensor people, we said we are the freedom and choices of the Internet of Things. Okay, so enough sales pitch. So. Oh, more sales pitch. But anyways, this is interesting actually. We are a small Calgary-based company. However, we have some big clients. So for example, one of our clients is the US Department of Homeland Security, and Lockheed Martin was our first client. Natural Resource Canada, Singapore government, and City of Taipei, for example. And the interesting thing is this: we are a small company, and how come these clients, they approached us and asked us to help them to connect different systems together? This is very interesting, and a lot of people said this is the most interesting thing about your company. And again, why? It's because of open standard. These companies or organizations, they want to connect their systems, the sensing systems, the IoT systems, using an open way. So that's interesting. So today we'll talk about why and how. So let's talk about what's Internet of Things. So I would like you to think about something, a physical thing. Yeah. And actually, the weirder, the better. I'll give you 2 seconds, yeah, to think about a thing. So right now, you should have a thing in your mind right now, right? So my point is, no matter how weird is your thing in your mind, it will be connected to the internet. So I have, since I started my company, I made a lot of interesting friends, and they connect all kinds of weird things to the internet, actually. For example, I have a friend, a professor in the Netherlands. He's connecting the tiles, the floor tiles, to the internet. So the tiles are able to track people working on the tiles and do some computation collaboratively. And I have friends that are professors that are doing research about how to make the paint as sensors, and they connect to each other. So the paint can feel, so your wall become a sensor. So it's really, no matter how weird is your thing in your mind, it will be connected to internet. But the question is why? Why do we want to connect these things to the internet? Yeah, it's very interesting. But here's the gist, yeah, the high level. So Internet of Things and the sensors allow you to quantify. Because you have sensors, you can quantify. So quantify give you visibility. So you make things invisible. You make the invisible visible. So once you can quantify things, and you can try to optimize, and then you can try to see the future, to predict. So first you quantify, and then you optimize, and you predict. See what's going to happen in the future. For example, if you have a lot of sensors in a big machine, you can predict when it's going to fail. So you can try to fix it before it's going to fail. But at the end, you can, once you quantify, you predict, and then you can automate. So you automate things, make it closed loop, right? So this is really the reason or the value for Internet of Things. And let me show you some examples. So for example, this is my favorite example recently is garbage cans. So we start to see some companies, they try to connect garbage cans to the internet. Yeah, it's very interesting. So I went to a conference in Silicon Valley, the Smart Cities Week in Silicon Valley, and then I saw a company called Victor Stanley. They connect this garbage can to the internet, and it has a scale, so it know the weight of the garbage can, and they know how full are these garbage cans. But the question is why? Why do we want to connect garbage cans to the internet? So one of the value is this. Once you can quantify how full are all the garbage cans, and you can optimize the route to collect garbages. So you don't need to, for example, if the garbage can is not full, you don't need to waste the time to go check and then to collect them. No. So you just do the best route so you can collect your garbage with a minimum time and minimum cost, right? And keep your street clean as well. And in addition, actually, these garbage cans, they have a weight sensor, like a weight. So if somebody throws something very, very heavy into this garbage can, it can send a message out. So for example, it's for public safety, actually. If somebody throw a bomb into this, and then people will know. Yeah, interesting. So garbage cans are connected to internet, yeah? Parking. There's a company, actually many companies, they try to put the parking sensors on all the parking space, right? So once you can you can quantify the parking and what to do, and you can do on-demand pricing for the parking, right? So using on-demand pricing, and you can control the demand. When the price goes up, right, and you control demand, so fewer people will choose to park or drive to downtown, right? So it's using the price as a way to control the demand, like Uber, right? So Uber 1.4 search pricing, right? So if you can quantify your parking in real time, you can do search pricing as well. Again, this is the other reason. Example, like why do you want to put sensors, right? It also create new business model. Your airport. So let's look at something even bigger. Actually, recently we were involved in a bid for a new terminal in Taipei. And actually, airport is a very complex system. And right now, and it's mission critical as well, right? A lot of people come to airport and need to leave right away, right? And it's mission critical. So how can we use IoT, Internet of Things, the sensors, and then to make the airport operation as smooth as possible, or as safe as possible. That is key, right? So if you look at this, actually this is from the RFP, request for proposal document, and they really looking into airport as a connected systems. So they put many sensors at the airport in this new terminal, and they want to connect all these different systems together. For example, on the screen you can see BMS. It's a building management system. It gives you the fire and equipment failure information, and feed into the central part, which is ERS, emergency response system. So they want this real-time information from BMS, from weather, from different systems, right? So it try to make a system of systems using sensor information and make to run the airport. So the airports are get very, very connected right now and try to run smoothly and lower the cost as well. So it brings to the idea about the real value for Internet of Things. It's really system of systems. So how can we put different systems into one coherent system so that we can create new applications, new values, and new business models by connecting the different systems together? So actually there's a paper written by Professor Michael Porter in HBS, Harvard Business School. It's really about, he said, the real potential for IoT is about system of systems. So actually this is a diagram from his paper. So he put Internet of Things or smart products into 5 different levels. So the first level is a stupid object, yeah, or dumb product, right? Just a product, right? Let's say it's a tractor. And the second level is a smart product. So you put some sensors in the object, like a tractor, and then because we have sensors, you can start to quantify some of the things, right? The performance, and you can have a dashboard, for example, on board, right? For your car, for example, you can see, okay, so how much fuel, what's the fuel consumption for my car? So that's the second level. It's a smart product. The third level is you add connectivity to that product. So a lot of cars are like already connect to internet, or when you can put the connection on your connectivity on your product, and you can gather information remotely and combine the information of that single product together. In most cases, okay, right now for Internet of Things, we are still at the level 3. So we're still talking about how to connect a sensor over the internet, and then so we can collect information. However, there are a better, like higher level of Internet of Things. And for example, it's not just one product, it's a product. It's a product system. So not only about tractor, right? For example, so for single company, it connect different systems into one. But they are still similar. They are built for similar purposes. They are kind of in a similar system. But at least it's not one single product. It's several different products. But finally, the real potential for Internet of Things is about system of systems. So it's to solve your problem, to provide a solution by connect different things, different systems all together. For example, let's say in this case on your screen, it's the agriculture, right? So what does the agriculture, the ultimate objective for agriculture is to use the minimum input that include water, fertilizer, seeds, and to get the maximum output, the yield, right? In order to do that, it's not only about the equipment. It includes other things, including weather, including the seeds, including the water irrigation system, including the farm equipment system, right? You want to save the fuel, for example. So, however, these are different systems. In order to reach your objective, final objective, so it's really about how to connect different systems together. And so that's the real potential for this Internet of Things. It's about system of systems rather than just a siloed one-off system. However, today, when we talk about Internet of Things or smart cities, right, it's really built for silos, which is okay. But I think it's time for us to think about how can we connect different systems together. Okay, they could be built as a silo. In some cases, they are built in silos for security reason, whatever. But the key right now is how can we combine these systems but into a coherent system? So basically, there are two ways to do it. Okay? One is using a proprietary system. So for example, a vendor said, okay, you all connect to me, and then you can interoperate with each other, right? Because you connect to me. But I believe in the other way, which is we use open way to connect, right? We use an open standard so that we connect to each other. You can have many freedom and choice. For example, you can use open source software to do it, or you can use a commercial product to do it. They just work seamless with each other. And there's a very good example, which is called the web. The web we are using every day is connect to each other using open standards. You can use proprietary software, you can use open software, but it just work, right? And so that's my vision for the Internet of Things. And it's real potential for the Internet of Things. It's really about build a system of systems. And in the smart city area, actually, some of the cities, they already feel the pain for closed silo system. Recently, I went to Taipei very often, and actually, I have a meeting with the Taipei CIO. And I told him, actually, you know what? You guys have 1,000 air quality sensors. This is amazing. However, do you know you already have 5 different APIs, data models, and data formats for exactly the same sensor for humidity, temperature, and PM 2.5. And just for time, you have 2 different time format. So this is crazy, right? If you are doing the same thing, and there are international open standards available, so why don't you use it? And this is creating many different a lot of troubles, right? And actually, I heard that the rumor is the 6th system is online very soon. So actually, the problem is getting worse and worse. So it's really about time. If you are building an IoT solution or smart cities, think about how can you leverage open systems to do that, rather than invent your own and create trouble in the future. So I just mentioned about smart garbage cans, right? So actually, let's put a garbage can in this context. So Victor Stanley was the vendor I met at the Smart Cities Week in Silicon Valley. However, I also know the other company called Big Belly. They are also making smart garbage cans. So guess what? So think about your own city. So how many vendors of garbage cans they are going to use? One vendor? So do you think your city will use only one system, one garbage cans throughout the city? Or it is possible they are going to use multiple? I think the answer is very obvious. They are going to use multiple. Or, like for example, in my university, I'm pretty sure they are going to use a different vendor for the garbage cans. And university has a lot of garbage cans, right? But in order to manage the assets efficiently, you do need to know all the information from different vendors for garbage cans, right? So as a result, the interoperability between these garbage cans become quite important, yeah? And however, today's garbage can is like this, right? You have one vendor, you through a common network, through a common internet. However, at the application level, it becomes a silo again. It is interesting though, because actually for network and internet, they are using the common open standard-based system, which is like the web, like the HTTP or the internet, right? It's based on open standard. But however, for application, it goes go to different way, right? This is okay because they have different dashboard. That's okay. Application should be different, but how to share the data? There should be a common way so that they can share the data. Of course, the vendors, they are not going to do that. So if you are a city manager, I strongly urge you, for example, you should demand them to provide an open API so that you can have this coherent view of your assets, rather than, for example, even just for garbage cans, you need to go to 2 different dashboards and then to see the data, and you cannot, or very difficult to put them together. Yeah. So just that's what I believe. Yeah. Okay. So let's look a little bit about the technology, the technical architecture. Yeah. So IoT, Internet of Things, in a nutshell, is 3 steps. So 1, 2, 3. The first step is collect. So you have sensors, you collect data. The second step is connect. So connect to the network, right? There are many different networks for the Internet of Things. And third one's a compute. So compute means you have data processing, data management first, and then you have data analysis later. So IoT basically is the 3 C's: collect, connect, and compute. So if we further expand this into details, right? This is called the IoT architecture or the IoT value chain. That means if you are implementing a IoT solution, these are the steps you need to go through. So first step is sensor or actuator. The second step is, if you look at screen here, is a gateway. So you connect your sensor into a gateway, and the gateway has the enough computing power and able to connect to a network. And the third one is network. Yeah, so it could be 4G or the IoT networks. Right. Right now there is a war on this IoT network. It's like LoRa, like a Sigfox or narrowband IoT. So there will be a war. Actually, I believe in the future there will be multiple systems exist. Yeah, and some of them will be more niche, but they do have a reason to exist. And finally, the 4, 5, 6 is the cloud. So once you connect your sensors information through a network, and you need to put into a cloud. And then, so 4, 5, 6 is the cloud. So when I talk about how to combine different information all together, I'm talking about this cloud. So 4 and 6 is the API and data model, how you feed the information into this cloud. And then when previously I mentioned about I'm active in making open standards, and actually the standards about 4 and 6 is how to have a common data model for sensor observations, as well as the API, so that different vendors, they can share the data in the cloud or in different clouds. Yeah. So finally, number 7, that means the application developer or the data scientist, they can easily put different information from different sources, different clouds together very easily. So they don't need to deal with different format or semantics. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying our value is really about on-demand integration through open standards. So that's basically it's what SensorUp is doing, or our sensors, our standards doing. So again, the other architecture. Okay. So our platform technology is real compliant to the open standards, so it's being certified by open standard body. Yeah. So this is how, what's our vision, and yeah, what we do. Okay, so when you have a open standard community and you have a vibrant ecosystem, for example, for our open standard, SensorUp is not only vendor. There are 7 different providers, open source, closed source, and then so you can really have choices to use the technology you like. Yeah, and this is one example on the screen. It shows that how can you use quickly to put the dashboard together using the open source technology. And then also, when you choose an open standard-based system, how to build your smart city or IoT, and then you tend to have a better support. So from commercial product all the way to sensor to the open source, right? So this is one example about the tutorials we provide online, and also high quality documentation. Actually, I don't know how many cases when you use a product and then it's you can only get documentation from one single vendor. But again, when you have an open ecosystem, you can get your documentation and support from multiple sources. So that's the other benefit. So let me show you some of the user stories of successful stories who are using this open standard and our technology to build their smart cities. So at the very beginning, I show you a list of our clients, right? So here are their stories. The first one actually is the Homeland Security, U.S. Department of Homeland Security. They are using open standard to connect different systems together. Why? Because, for example, they have so many different first responders, right? Like a firefighter, a policeman. However, when they are trying to save lives, they want to see one common picture, we call it COP, common operating picture for different systems. So you can see everything on same screen rather than on different screens, so that they can save lives more efficiently, more effectively. So we're working with the DHS on this. And for example, this is the picture of a future first responder. Yeah, on a firefighter, actually, on just one firefighter, there will be many different systems. So even on single firefighter, there are different systems. So for DHS, they really want to look at how can connect different systems, not only on one firefighter, for example, but also firefighter, police, EMS, all together. And maybe not only from, for example, when there's a major incident, they want to combine information even from different jurisdictions. And they will be using different systems, different sensing systems, right? So how to combine all this information all together. And right now, we are helping the DHS to figure that out and use our technology. And on the screen, that's me and the undersecretary of the Homeland Security. So they said the testimony is really about, okay, this really works, yeah? And we went to Capitol Hill last year to show a demo. Okay, and the next project we have is to connect air quality sensor across Canada. So we work with Natural Resource Canada. So the idea is this: we want to show what's possible with our open standard, right? And we're like, yeah, before anybody pay us to do it, so let's do it by ourselves, right? So we call for smart citizens in Calgary. So we gather about 50 citizens in Calgary. Actually, before we did that, actually, we're like, is there anybody interested in this? I mean, or it's just us, right? But when we made the call and then said, okay, join us to adopt a sensor, you can bring the sensor back your home and join together, form a sensor network, citizen sensing. And then we got overwhelming responses. So a lot of people came and bring a sensor together and put it together. It was a very fun and exciting event, actually. And then after almost more than half a year, most of the sensors are still online. So actually the citizens, they are really interested, right? They didn't just stop it, right? The churn rate is very, very low. So this is great. And because of the work, we were invited by US EPA to share the experiences. So how to do this data management. And this is quite, it's well honored to do that. And right now, this year, we are working with NRCan, Natural Resource Canada, to expand to 10 different cities and across Canada. So we are going to engage to recruit 500 citizens across Canada and put the sensors. And right now, to make the things more even easier, our citizens' life easier, so we even make our own smart citizen board. Again, the board is open source, actually. And on the right-hand side, you can see a lot of the boxes, right? Actually, it's my own van. So they are sitting in my garage right now. So I'm very excited about this. So I'm expanding to 10 different cities, right? So St. Albert and Edmonton, they sign up already. So the both city government, they are willing to support us, both in kind and financially, to build this work. And more cities will come. So this is exciting. And we also have some sensors in other countries. And actually, you can see air quality is a real issue in a certain part of the world. Like in India, the air quality is really, really bad. So actually, this is serious. And then by using IoT open standards, we can really make the world a better place. And we have this project for UAV actually. So how to connect UAV, drones are sensors as well. So how to connect all these drones together, this is also what our technology, open standard, can contribute. So this is how to see the drone, and this for actually this application is for first responders as well. So using a just a web browser, they are able to see the real-time drone information and combine with other information as well. So that's drone. And then we are also expanding our smart cities work in internationally. So for example, in this case in Taipei. So Taipei, city of Taipei is going to use our standard and to establish a citywide test bed and to connect different sensing systems together. And we are working with our partner, MyTech, to do that. And something very exciting as well, Singapore. Singapore might be the most progressive in terms of smart cities technology and applications. And Singapore government already recommended our standard as their national standard to connect different sensor information, share different sensor information. So on July 14th, actually, they will have a hackathon for smart cities. So more than 100 teams and more than 200 programmers already registered will be using our platform and to develop innovative smart city applications. So mid-July, I will be in Singapore and then to see what are the innovation they are going to create using this open data, open API for smart cities. So in summary, what we do is very important, and then how to use open ways to connect different information, combine different information together. So here's a summary. First, do not build silos. It's gonna create problems in the future. Secondly is use open standard to build your smart city solution. And finally, sales pitch, sensor up, we provide technology. We enable you to develop smart cities and IoT 10 times faster, but at the same time using open standards. So thanks for your time, and then feel free to ask any question. Thank you, Ted.
Well, I think what we could do, Steve, is just have kind of a bit of a discussion here for a bit. One of the comments that a previous speaker had made, and she was, well, she's still with a major research government research organization within Australia, and one of the comments she made after the presentation was, with this Internet of Things, there's like a lot of vendors that want to develop it within a proprietary approach and lock it down and own this solution for the world. And she was kind of saying, well, look, basically she was suggesting just what you've just established is an open source approach where you can share code and you can have an open standard. And so it was interesting that she had made that comment. So how do you grow this philosophy, Steve, between government and the private sector?
Let's look at what happened. So successful stories, right? So this is nothing new. So look at how internet and the World Wide Web changed our world, right? We can say this is one of the most significant technology advance in human history, internet and World Wide Web. You know what? Both of them are based on open standards. So you have commercial product, you have open source products, but because they are open standard, so they can help each other. So they build an ecosystem. So what I'm thinking is, for what I believe in is this: for IoT or smart cities, right? The scale is so big. So in a way, I don't foresee any organization is able to swallow it by itself. I believe open standard and open ecosystem will be the way. And just like the World Wide Web and the internet. However, the choices is in our hands. So which way you want to embrace right now? So for our cities, for our large-scale applications or governments, you have two choices in your hands right now. One is you bet on a proprietary solution, and then hope it will be the solution to build the Internet of Things. Or you bet and you contribute, and then you help to build this open ecosystem, which allow you to achieve the same thing, but also give you interoperability, give you freedom, give you choices, and allow you to build your local economy, because small companies or innovative companies can use open standard and to innovate and thrive, rather than they have to pay royalty or to be pay the monthly fee to the proprietary systems, right? So I think a choice is our hands, and I believe the open system will win. And because the Internet of Things and smart cities is such a large scale. That's my belief, though.
Well, the other thing that we could kind of discuss for a little bit is when I got Sri Alaprolu, who is Amazon AWS's global lead for within the public sector worldwide, and the reason that I was interested in getting Sri to present was when I researched this, I found that the cities of London, Chicago, and Singapore all used Amazon AWS. And what they did was, that was really interesting, was they opened up their transit data through an API, through collaboration with Amazon AWS, to allow local programmers to develop apps that use that public data. So I think this is part of your model. Is that right, Steve?
Yes, and actually AWS IoT, first, they are great, and also they have this philosophy of open standards. So if you look at it, it's a messaging infrastructure based on some open standards, and then allow you to build a basically messaging infrastructure in their cloud. And they use some open standard or open data from the government to showcase the applications, right? And so actually, if you look about IoT architecture, right, there are different levels. So when I talk about this, a little bit technical, but when I talk about open standard, right, so it can sit on top of the messaging infrastructure like Amazon provides. So actually, it complements each other quite well. So I think the take-home message is, if you build IoT, look at the stack. There are many different stacks for your IoT architecture, and every layer of the stack using open standard to connect them to each other, so you can swap them with different solution with the interoperability. For example, AWS IoT, I think they support MQTT, so that's an ISO standard. So that's a good thing. Yeah. And actually, we are also in contact with AWS IoT. We're looking forward to work with them.
Well, the other comment that I would make, Steve, is I wasn't aware of Sensor Up until through Sri's presentation. I did more research, and I was kind of drawn to the Eclipse Foundation, which is actually their headquarters is in Ottawa. Yeah. And then that drew me to Tracy Miranda, who's agreed to present on open source and climate change. So all of these things. But the irony that I find is that most people will wrongly assume that there are huge security issues with this whole idea of open source, and just the opposite. Recently, I saw a presentation by someone from the US government who talked about one of their recent pilot tests that's just been released is actually by the Department of Defense, and they're sharing code on how they're doing sort of surveillance with their armies. So this whole open source, I would call a hybrid model between private companies that have proprietary approaches and open source and government. It's just like a new way of doing things.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, proprietary solution doesn't mean it's more secure. It only means you cannot see it. It's a black box, but it doesn't mean it's secure, right? So again, I believe in ecosystem. So a open ecosystem, including both open standard open source and closed source, that proprietary solution. Okay, so the question, as long as they can embrace each other in this open ecosystem using open ways, and I think this is the most beautiful architecture, right? Rather than everything just open source or everything just closed source. No, I believe in open standards. A standard way allow these closed source as open source talk to each other. And I think that's the right architecture to do. And it's more secure. It's more secure.
Well, and just in closing, as an example of that, I'd like you to kind of respond to, like, it seems to me that most governments around the world, Steve, use Esri for mapping, and they have data sets. But when I did research on Sensor Up, you guys are all over an international geospatial standard, which is compliant or compatible with Esri. Is that right?
Yeah, so it's another evidence about how closed source and open standard work all seamless together, right? For example, Esri is a proprietary product. It's a great product, right? It's a great company, provides you support, a great ecosystem. And however, you can use the Esri technology and consume the Internet of Things data from our platform. And we can talk to each other because we have this open standard way to talk to each other, right? And then we can overlay our data on top of OpenStreetMap, for example. And OpenStreetMap is an open source, open data platform. So you see, so when you have an open ecosystem, and that's the beauty of it, right? You have different platforms, and they just seamlessly work with each other, and you can choose the best breed from all these technologies in the open ecosystem. And that's what I believe the vision and the future for the Internet of Things, or for a lot of other areas as well.
Well, Stephen, this has been a wonderful presentation, and I think if I could, I would beg you to do another presentation at some point when we don't have technical issues or anything like that. So I'm hoping that you're willing to present at some point in the future. And I think you guys are absolutely, the logic is so sound and so profoundly being embraced worldwide that I see great things for Sensor Up.
Thank you very much, and sorry for technical issues.
No problems.
Okay.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Steve, for presenting.
Thank you, Ted.
Okay.
Bye.